Eddie, my man,
Hey, hey,
you are here. You are everywhere. How are you feeling, my man?
I feel great. I, it's a weird feeling. Weird feeling.
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. But first, I have to give Juilliard a shout out because I'm rocking the merch just for this. Yep, you are too. Just for this conversation, we rocking our Juilliard merch. So that was the spoiler. But why don't you just tell us where are you going this fall? What degree are you getting? Give us the good news.
Yeah, I will be attending the Juilliard School for drama, group 57. Yeah.
Money, money. Juilliard Group 57. Love hearing that because I was Group 38. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, I don't think you and I are 20 years apart in age, but we are 20 years apart almost in Juilliard groups.
Wow. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, that
That's
is
insane.
insane.
Yeah.
I was like '05 to '09. I was there.
Oh, 05, I was 4 years old.
Sweet. Sweet. Well, very cool, man. I'm so excited for you. I just had lunch with Andrew Wade, the voice faculty there. A lot of things to be excited about for incoming students, and you are one of them. So before this is not a conversation about what you're going into. It's more about a conversation of how you got accepted, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get to know sort of your process a little bit. I guess give us, before I even ask specific questions, where do you feel like we need to start? Give us the sort of 360-degree view. What's the thing that stands out most when you look back at your preparation and your auditions?
Um, I think so. I got waitlisted last year. This is my second time auditioning. I was gonna audition for Group 55 because it came on my radar, but I didn't feel like I can give them my 100%, and I didn't feel like I would give them my all, so I kind of put it to the side. But I auditioned last year, and I ended up getting waitlisted, and then um, I gave it like 3 or 4 days, and then I kind of got right back into work, just like watching interviews. Which is like everybody's process is different, but just watching interviews, reading technique books, looking at different monologues. Um
And working, you were doing
yeah,
professional work, right?
yeah, and working in plays as well and watching rehearsals and just being around the art. So, yeah.
That's really great. Great context, great setup. Um, because a lot of people who get in the second time around, or let's say like whatever time third time or whatever it is, it's because they have grown so noticeably in that gap that yeah, the school was obviously already moved by your work, but didn't for some reason invite you to that particular class. You didn't stop. You didn't let that stop you from growing as an artist, right? And so how do you feel, like, first question for you is, how do you feel that your art improved between last year and this year?
Oh man, I think it just became much more truthful. I try to reach for truth and living in the moment a bit more. Not necessarily like finding different parts and trying to go towards that performance. So yeah, I just think that I tried trusting my instinct a lot more and understanding the circumstance of the whole play and using my imagination. So I think that's how it grew. Yeah, and being more consistent as well.
Nice. So yeah, just kind of living more in the moment and playing rather than trying to control it.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
and also just kind of just letting your imagination uh go a little bit more.
Yeah,
Now
absolutely.
that part two to that question, because that was kind of more about how your art grew. How do
Mhm.
you feel like your audition changed? Do you feel like you did, and we'll go into details, so save us some of the details, but like, was there like a way you showed up last year that was different than the way you showed up this year, just in terms of like, I don't know,
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm not gonna lie. This year was a roller coaster. I think that last year's initial audition was much better because I was much more cool-headed. This year I was a bit more nervous for some reason. But yeah, I think that I was a little bit more hard on myself this year about like being in the moment. But Yeah, I think I remember last year being a bit better, if that makes any sense. Not that I was like more prepared last year or whatever it is. I knew that I grew as an artist, but it was just the mentality game that was really messing with me this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually excited to have this conversation because obviously we supported some of your pieces and we coached you, but we always respect each student's way that they prefer to like go into the process. And I know you don't know this because you don't have the perspective of all of these different students, but you were someone who really didn't talk to us much. You were basically like, if you wanted a coaching session, you'd book a coaching session. But outside of the coaching sessions, you know, it was more just like on a need to know basis. I guess Eddie's doing okay. You know, and all of a sudden, I remember you texting me, you got invited to callback weekend. All I got was this GIF of Kermit dancing.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
this is so Eddie, like just one little message here or one little message there, but I got it.
Yeah.
So you were clearly kind of doing whatever you needed to do to move through that process, right?
Yeah, I'm very to myself a lot, especially with things like this, and I think that's a very important thing to mention. Um, Even like my closest friends didn't know I auditioned for Juilliard until I got in, because I wanted to make sure that I put the least amount of pressure on myself. Because once you start telling people, then once you get to the audition, it's like, oh, I have to get in, as opposed to let me just be here present with everyone. And if I don't make it to end of day callbacks or callback weekend, which is fine, um, I don't have 100 people asking me about it and
Yeah.
reminding me about it. So the only people that knew were the people that wrote my letter of recommendations, and then my parents, and then I think my brother. My siblings knew, I think, once I got in, I believe.
Mhm. Yeah,
So it
that's
was
really
really cool.
tight. That's really close to the chest.
Yeah,
Um, and I respect that. You got to do whatever it takes to set yourself up for success.
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm glad that you honored that, and I think that probably came through in the work you shared and the sort of non-pressure or whatever. It obviously was successful. So this makes me want to ask you about that a little bit, like um, pressure,
Mhm.
athletics. We were both
Uh,
athletes.
yeah,
Um, and dealing with pressure is something that athletes obviously um, learn to do.
yeah.
So how does your athletic background play into like these auditions and where you're at now?
It helps tremendously. I think most of theater is a mental game. I played goalkeeper for soccer, and with goalkeeper, you can't make a mistake. You make a mistake and your team's on the line. So I feel like with theater, it's like if I mess up, I can find a moment from it that can be truthful and in the moment, whether it's comedic or whatever it is. So I think that being a goalkeeper really helped just like relieve the pressure for myself, because I feel like there's nothing in the world more um pressure filled than, being in a finals and you're a goalkeeper and you have the other team shooting on goal or whatever it is. So I've been told I'm very cool-headed when it comes to theater, and I like to just think about it like it's just like we're playing pretend, we're having fun.
That's what I was going to say. You also have a really good sense of play, which I think maybe whether you know it or not, probably stems from some of that athletic background too. Just that excitement to play against someone or to put yourself out there. I remember you in your first session and feeling like, oh yeah, he's not trying to overly control this. He's able to just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good skill.
I think that's really important. It's like all the prep work that you do makes that moment much easier as well. So as I'll try to do as much prep work and making sure that when I get to the moment, all the work that I needed to do isn't a problem. It's
Hmm.
just like being in a moment is the problem.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great way to put it too, because obviously you have to game plan in sports. You have to kind of prepare for different game situations.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once you're in the game, it's just like, all right, just be in the moment and let it rip,
Yeah.
you know? trying to trust the work we've done. And yeah, which you did. Okay, cool. So talk to me about that prep, right? How did, yeah, well, give me the overview. What was your philosophy going in? Like, you obviously said I only waited 3 days until I started prepping again for the next. So, like, what was your mentality with preparation?
Um, Again, it was just getting better. It wasn't necessarily like finding these pieces and working on it since, after I got waitlisted. I found one of my pieces though, but I would say from those months, it was mostly just like again observing rehearsals and I was in plays as well and watching interviews, watching a lot of your videos as well. I studied like every single one of them. And then
Hear that, everybody? These are useful. These are really
yeah,
good videos.
like actually, you learn a lot from it. And what I like to think about is if you can make 5 mistakes, try to learn for those mistakes from other people. So then when you come in, you can make that one mistake, and then the next time you don't make zero. You don't make any mistakes. So then it was finding my pieces, and I think once I found my pieces, because it took a while, because I'm very indecisive, it was about 2 months, I think, of like really zoning in on them. So
Now
prep
tell
was,
me,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Tell me what pieces you found and maybe where you found them, if you're willing to share.
Yeah. I did King Hedley the Second. Um, I did Beggars in the House of Plenty. I wasn't too fond of that one, but I just needed to do one. It's a great monologue though. I did Benedict from Much Ado, and I did Friends, Romans, Countrymen from Julius Caesar. And I also had like backups. I had two Shakespeare, I had Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet. And then I had a piece from Sweat, it's contemporary. And then I had another piece from Good People by David Lindsay Abaire. I believe he works at Juilliard,
Yes,
the playwright.
playwright, in the playwrights department. Uh,
Yeah.
if he doesn't work, yeah, yeah. Anyway, fantastic playwright, one of my favorites for sure. Uh, Funniest and one of the funniest in my
Oh,
opinion.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So you found these pieces. Where did you find them?
Um, from mentors, I had a lot of mentors. I had the luxury of having a lot of theater veterans as friends and as kind of people to guide me. So I just asked for different plays that had certain monologues. And then even if I found a play that like I couldn't find a monologue in, but I just loved the language of it, I would look more into that playwright. So it was
Right.
just finding different playwrights and just like scanning and finding any blocks of kind of passage and then also remembering different plays that I watched in the past and seeing if there's anything interesting in them. So it was
Yeah.
a mix of that.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's great. That's pretty much how I found my stuff too. Also, some past work I had done. Um, so talk to us about you said you were doing professional work and stuff like this. Had you been doing that prior to these just drama school auditions? Is that what led you to want to audition for drama school, or was your professional work just part of your overall growth in parallel to like drama school auditions?
Um, I did a 10-month program, the GAM Fellowship, and originally because I went to CCRI, it's a community college in Rhode Island, and I was gonna go to another school, but I think after the fellowship, I just wanted something a bit more challenging and more out of my comfort zone, if that makes any sense. I wouldn't
Absolutely.
say necessarily, well, challenging as well, but out of my comfort zone. So Juilliard came back on my radar. So I knew that I could possibly work professionally, but I knew I just had so many loopholes and so many because it's pretty competitive over in Rhode Island and the Boston area. It really is. So I just wanted to fine tune my kind of work. So I was like, it's either I work professionally or I go back for more training. And I feel like right now is the best time for training for me personally. So
Yeah, that's great. And you're saying that, and I know again you don't have the perspective, but just for everyone listening, that sentiment is echoed by everyone who gets into these top schools. And what I mean is the sentiment of knowing what you want,
Yeah.
right? Everyone who gets into any one of these top schools, and even people who get rejected from the top schools, you could probably find a way to go get work in the acting industry. You could probably find a way, if you have the right philosophy and the right work ethic, you can go make yourself a career in the entertainment industry. You might take a little bit longer to establish yourself if your skills aren't there, but it's really much more about work ethic and finding your little nook and getting good work. But what you're saying is, I know that's an opportunity, but what I want is training right now. And that sort of knowing, that inner knowing, that sort of gut, I guess, a sense,
Yeah.
it comes through in your audition, and it comes through in your personal statement. It comes through in sort of however you share yourself and your work. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody goes at their own pace. So definitely trust your gut. I always trusted my gut, and whatever doors opened and I feel like were possible, I went through that door and it's worked so far. So
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay, cool. So you're preparing these monologues. You have some level of foundation. You know how to bring a piece from the page to the stage and get it up on its feet.
yeah.
But you're looking to get off the wait list and into the school, right?
Yeah.
Not that you were on the wait list this year. I know, for anyone who's not clear, if you get waitlisted, that doesn't mean you're automatically waitlisted next year, right? You
Oh,
have to audition from the bottom. So no privilege there. But
no.
then you have it in your file that you were waitlisted previously. So if you really make an impression again, it's very likely that you can advance through the callbacks and whatnot. Anyway, my whole point with all that was, um, you're prepping.
Mhm.
You want to get off the wait list. You want to get into the school.
Yeah.
What you do differently to get that work to another level? I know you got coaching with us this year, but like in addition to that, like what was it that you really felt part of your preparation got the work to a better level?
Oh man, for starters, the essay in my transfer essay, I took a lot more serious this year. Last year was kind of like, let me just put something down, but I actually took like a month and like every week I had a new feeling and I would just write it down and then it became an essay and I just like kind of restructured it and kind of molded it together. Um, two more letter of recommendations from people at the game that helped a lot. Um, yeah, and I didn't want to because the whole waitlist thing, I didn't want to come in feeling privileged, like, oh, they already know me. They know me from last year. Like, it's very possible that you can get waitlisted the year before and then, during pre-screen or first round cut. So I was like, I'm gonna treat it like a brand new audition, act like these people have never seen me before, and come back with something new and exciting for them. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to entertain them, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my whole mindset.
Great. Great. Nice. And how many of the pieces you did this year were the same as last year?
None.
Totally new group of pieces.
Yeah, like in terms of like the same exact or like the same feeling.
No, the same exact pieces.
Oh no, 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 no,
Oh,
no. I didn't.
so
Yeah.
all new pieces.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah,
so talk
absolutely.
to me about what you were just saying though, in terms of the feeling. Did you feel like you wanted to choose a certain type of piece in some regard?
Yeah, I knew that I was just using my like context clues. I the piece that I feel like they liked a lot last year was a story piece, and I found myself while looking for monologues doing another story piece, and I kind of like, wait, hold on. These people already know I can drop in and tell a story. Why am I gonna come in and do another story for them? Instead I found a piece that, they were trying to I knew that they were trying to see a little bit of something in me that is me. So I was trying to find a piece that was related to that. Just that little piece of me. So I found pieces that they didn't necessarily see in me last year, but also like making sure that it wasn't way out of my range. It was
Nice.
still like a part of me. And it was something that if they gave me the right note, I will feel it, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Really well said. Um, very cool. And so you felt good about your pieces.
Yeah, I was very overthinky about it. Very. I felt very strong over my Shakespeare pieces. But the contemporary, I was very like, this might be, I might be cutting it too close or whatever it is, and just seriously overthinking it. The week before the audition, I'm talking to Cormac, like, dude, I don't know if these are the right pieces, but just trust it. Just trust it because you fell in love with the piece before. So it's just about refining that love. And most of the, pressure is just from you overthinking. So yeah.
That's great. Wow. I'm just interested in diving into like what happened in the room because like I want to know like in your first audition this year, did it
Oh,
go well? What happened? How did you feel?
oh, yeah, it was a roller coaster. So we go in, we check in. I actually seen Evan while walking in. I said hi, she was like across the road. I said hi, I kept it pushing, and then they split us in different groups, and we go up to the waiting group, into the waiting rooms. I actually auditioned the same day as Cormac. And I was in the afternoon group. So I usually drink my tea because it keeps me caffeinated and very focused. And I drank it a little bit too early this day. And Cormac goes to audition, he comes back and he doesn't feel
Cormac,
great.
for those of you guys who don't know, is another student of ours who's a friend of yours.
Yeah.
Got to do Juilliard with you this year as well. Yes.
Yeah. I won't touch base with his audition too much because that's another
He'll
story.
tell his story. He's yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, he goes to audition, and then my another friend that I met that day, Andres, he went to go audition, and they both came back and were like, "Yeah, I didn't feel it too much." And then I waited for like 3 hours, and it's finally my turn to go in, and for some reason I'm hitting a crash. Like I just feel like he's starting to go down a little bit and I'm going over my piece in my head too much. I'm really overthinking it rather than just trusting myself. So I go in. I believe the room is 304. It's in the corner.
Yeah, 304.
They did some construction in there. So it was very, when I walked in, it was very overstimulating. It was beautiful in there, but it was not what I expected.
There's a lot of light.
Yeah, it's all white. And I walked in, and instead of me just like taking in the room and the feeling, I came in, it was Evan and Dwight, and I did my pieces. I did my first piece, and I did my second piece, and then she asked for my
You lead
third piece.
with
I led with King Headley, I believe. I did King Headley, and then I think I did Mark Antony. I don't remember which order I did it in, but
for those of you who don't know, King Headley might sound like a Shakespeare piece, but King Headley is a play written by August Wilson. It's a modern play. Yeah. And then
absolutely beautiful play.
yeah,
Suggest reading that. I did those two pieces. Awful. I just was not in it. And then I did my third piece,
they asked you for a
still
third.
not in it at all. And then Evan said, can you do your fourth piece just for safe measure? I'm like, oh man. Like, I'm so cooked right now. And I did my fourth piece, and I remember like I'm usually like trying to find my own world or in my own world while doing my piece. And I just like checked out for just like a quick second to kind of just scan down and look at them. And I remember Dwight writing down a note, and he was just shaking his head like this. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I finished, and then they said thank you, and I walked out, head down. The students are asking me from group 56 and 55. We're like, how'd it go? I'm like, awful. And I walked back to the waiting room, and I had to wait for an hour to find out like who got called back. So, you know, I packed my bags up nice and neat. I put my jacket on. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry guys, this isn't working today. And just festering that idea of getting cut for an hour, listening to Frank Ocean trying to calm my nerves. And then the list goes up, and everybody gets up and goes to the list. And I just sit down. I'm like, let me just like feel this energy of the school just one last time before I exit. And I finally get the courage to go up to the list, and I just scan down and I see my name. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was going right back into the room, and I kind of reevaluated myself in that moment. I was like, okay, if they have enough faith in me to see me again, even though I know I did so horrible, I'm gonna prove that they made the right decision of wanting to see me again. So I felt much more focused. I felt much more driven. I emptied out my tea, put more tea, got some hot water. I was reloaded, Um, and I felt much better the second time. I felt much more focused, and
Before you go into the second time, because I want to hear
yeah.
exactly what happened, but also for everyone listening, like this just goes to show I've never met a person who got into Juilliard, including myself, who like was confident they were gonna get in.
No, no, no,
No,
no.
like confident in your work, confident in your ability and your
Yeah.
worthiness, but like not that we all did terrible auditions, like you said, you did terrible. Not all of it, but we don't know if our name's going to be on that thing.
Yeah.
And when we see it, we're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone knows going in what the outcome is going to be. So,
Not at all.
release the need to feel like, oh, I should have confidence that I'm going to get a call back. None of us know that we're going to. So anyway,
Never.
just a funny story that you told, and it totally illustrates that, like,
Yeah.
got to just do what you do.
Yeah, trust me. Nobody at callback weekend thinks they're literally like, I'm at callback. Like people in the group, like till this day are like, guys, we're going to Julia. That's so weird. Like it's a weird thing. But it also brings up my point. It's a school. So, you know, they do, I feel like they just look for a moment, and also like they kind of want to see you at your worst as well, I believe. Not only your best, but your worst, to see how you face, like pressure like I was, or they can sense tenseness, I
Mm.
believe. So the second time when I went in,
I could just imagine a whole group of applicants from now on is just gonna like plan a terrible moment as well as good moments. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That's not what Eddie is saying. Just to be clear,
no,
everyone.
not at all. It's like I'm saying, like if you mess up, it's totally fine. It really,
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so
yeah,
this is the callback you're talking about now, day of callback.
day of callback. So I worked a little bit more closely with Evan, and we were working on my King Headley piece. And I believe the note was, she asked me, and this is why it's really important to read your plays. And it's honestly like the best thing to read your plays, because you want to understand the circumstances and relate the character to yourself as much as possible, for me personally. But she asked me questions, and she was like, do you feel like King Headley had any sense of regret? Because in the piece, he talks about not regretting murdering someone. And I kind of looked forward into play, and I'm like, yeah, he mentioned, how he wants a baby because he wants something pure in his life. He feels like he's not a pure person. And I feel like that can definitely be linked to it. He's growing plants as well because he feels like that's a pure thing. There's a lot of metaphors in August Wilson, and we worked on it. It was a completely new piece, completely new. So I just trusted my instinct rather than feeling like I have to do it this way. I was like, let's work and let's find something new with this. So we did that. It felt great. And then they gave me notes while leaving as well. I was like, oh, interesting. Okay.
You mean
Uh,
like something to think about as you continue working on it?
yeah, yeah. So I definitely took those notes, and because any note that they give, it's literally brilliant. It's like, how did I not think of that? So um we had to wait another like hour or so. And this day it was a lot of talented people that day. They had a hard time deciding. It was like for that second round callback, there's probably like 25 people, 25 to 30 people. Um
That's definitely way more than usual.
yeah, yeah, way more than it was last year. And then they posted up the callback. And I was on it again. It was me, Cormac, and Andres, and it was 14 people. And they bring us up to a little hallway, and we kind of sit there. And this is the most brilliant part. This is why I love Juilliard so much. It's like we were like half of us was having a serious conversation about life. And then, there's some people playing Just Dance over there. And then like we would just like rotate and like it was great. And then like we're talking to the students, we're just talking about life. Like it's like obviously you want to take the work very serious when you're in the room and when you're working, but like other than that, everybody's just having a fun time. Like it's amazing. So everybody's coming back, they're getting their notes and really cool notes as well. And I'm like, all right, I wonder what note I'm gonna get. Like I'm really excited about it. So I go down, I'm just talking to the students because I don't like to, you know, be in my own headspace because it just makes me overthink. So I just like to talk to people like this before I go in. So I'm talking to them and then I go in. It's the full staff. Um, Once you open that door, they all look at you, smiling. And I like to break the tension a little bit, just hi guys, and just walk to the middle. And um, I feel like I do better in front of more people. Because I feel like if it's just one person, it's very personal. But if it's a lot of people, it's like I'm just here to entertain them. Like my brain automatically does that.
Hmm.
So I felt much more focused. This is the most focused I felt all day. They asked me to do um, they asked me to do King Hedley and Mark Antony, and I applied all the notes. And um, there are very like I guess emotional pieces, but I just wanted to live in a moment. If I didn't feel like I had to, like if I didn't feel the need to like really bring it out there or shout, I didn't do it. I just lived in the moment and I felt
Hmm.
great about it because I found new moments that felt very, very real. I did those two, and then Evan asked me, I think it was they did the little whispering thing that they do, like and then they
Okay.
asked me to do Benedict from Much Ado. And Benedict is just me. The philosophy that he talks about was me before, and how he ends up at the end of the play is literally me. So I was just like, I just lived in the moment and just had,
Benedict is great for athletes.
yeah, absolutely.
He's really great. He's like this. Well, we could talk about it later, but yeah, I love that you said that.
Yeah, it's literally like it's probably my favorite piece. So I do it and I'm just like talking about I'm really like trying to be as truthful as possible as how ridiculous it is for my friend to fall in love. Like we've talked about this before, so like I was really just like trying to focus on that rather than trying to be comedic. And naturally the comedy came out of it because he goes like, I would never fall in love. Maybe if she had these qualities, I would. Maybe if she had these qualities too, then I would. So it was just like a little, diamond. Then they were like laughing with me during it as well. And then they asked me to sing. And I was gonna sing a Tyler the Creator song that day. It was like
Which one?
a song with a little bit of a rap, but I'm Cape Verdean. It's like islands off the west coast of Africa, and there wasn't another moment for me to speak Creole because they just wouldn't understand it. It's a very tribal kind of language. It's like a more of a like it's not Haitian Creole. Haitian Creole, I believe, is more French. Our Creole is more Portuguese and very like street. So I was listening to a Cape Verdean song, and that song was keeping me together that day. Like it was literally keeping me together. Um, and I just started singing it. That sounded horrible, but I felt it.
Wow.
And
So you essentially abandoned your prepared song
yeah,
and went with the song that was most sort of on
yeah.
your
I gambled that day. I gambled.
boy.
Yeah,
Now I
it was,
know I'm starting to understand what you mean by roller coaster.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So I started singing it, and I remember just seeing out the corner of my eye while when I first started singing it, like they just kind of like and looked at me, and I finished the song, and they did the iconic, "Psst, psst, psst." Okay, thank you, and I walked no notes or anything, and again I applied all the notes that I got the prior round, so I left, and I was like, oh man, they didn't give me any notes. I don't know how to feel about that.
By the way, the song you said you didn't sing it, like the quality of your singing is not amazing, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a singer. I'm a shower singer, man.
Same here, same here. And that's the exact same response they had to me too after I sang my song. They were like, "Thank you. We don't want to keep doing anything with song with you."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you felt it, and we can tell that you can express yourself through song. But Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I walked out and the, group 56 were like, "You're done already?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, then I finished." And they were like happy for me. And the people that are auditioning up next, you can just see the tenseness in them. Like they were very like, so I just like to remind people, I went up, dapping them up, hugged them, and I was just like, just have fun in there. They're gonna, they want to just see your best work and just pretty much like reminding them how talented they are and just even if it's like a little bit of pressure that I'm easing off of them, making sure that they go in there and they feel great. So, and then we got our interviews, and that day was long. It was from like 8 a.m. to 9:45 p.m. It was a very long day. And then I went to go get pizza with Cormac and a, another applicant we were hanging out with that day, Francesca. And yeah, that was the end of that initial
That's
day.
incredible. So
Crazy.
you went home essentially after that, not knowing if you were going to get called back to the next round, callback weekend. How'd you feel?
I felt I did my best. I hate the feeling of regret. So anytime I go into a room, it's like, let me just leave it all on the floor, even if I look ridiculous. That's why I sung that song because I was like, if I sing the Tyler Creator song and I leave 3 days, I'm gonna regret not singing the song that made me feel something that day. So let me just do it, even if it's like ridiculous. Let me just do it. So I felt pretty great about it. And then I was actually in a production, as you know, of Midsummer, so that distracted me for most of that waiting period.
Right, right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was
Um,
yeah.
I want to take this quick moment before we dive into callback weekend to ask about other schools. What other schools did you apply to? And how were those going just in general?
Yeah. Fun fact. Juilliard was the only school I auditioned for. Yeah. I'm very picky. I had a terrible experience in high school with soccer and it completely diminished my passion for the craft. For not the craft, but for the sport of soccer. And I really don't want another place to rip that passion out of me. So a lot of what I was doing is the research. I was watching a lot of your videos, obviously, and doing research on programs. And I just found out that Juilliard checked all the boxes. And I'm a BFA candidate as well. So I know MFA candidates have more options of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more like conservatory, like, being surrounded by, very supportive people, very supportive staff, and then also people who are willing to push me and not care about, you know, um, obviously care about me, but like are blunt with me about whether if something's working or not. And that's something that I exercise with you guys too. I told you about that like when we worked in our session, like be honest because it's better for you to, like be like this moment isn't working or this piece isn't working or whatever it is, rather than walking to the room and have someone who can say yes or no, decide that. I told
Mhm.
Brandon that as well. Um,
Did we succeed in your request?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was really happy about that. And we talked about it too. It's like I already did all the groundwork. I just like I'm at the place where like I'm hitting this plateau and I don't know where to go from there. So it's about like just playing with different places and stuff like that. So like telling you guys about that as well. Like where I'm at is very important. So yeah.
All right, cool. So you're on this journey. It's still going with Juilliard, the school you applied to.
Yeah.
Um, Callback weekend. When did you find out you were invited?
Oh, yeah. So I found out February 16th. I actually know another two friends from Rhode Island who auditioned for Juilliard and got into callback weekend. We're small, but we're mighty.
Wow.
We're
Watch out,
very
Rhode
mighty.
Island's coming.
Yeah. It's like probably like 45 minutes to get to one side from the other, so that's pretty impressive. Uh, so um I texted one of them. I think I texted both of them and I was just like no, one of them texted me first and they're like, "Did you hear anything yet?" And I'm at rehearsal at 1 o'clock. And I was like, "No, did you?" And just didn't respond for me for like 4 hours. So I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got cut. It's all right, Let me just take this L." And I remember walking out of rehearsal, notifications were going off in the group chat because I was working with people. with pieces and stuff like that. And they got the decision, and I opened my email, and I'm literally walking out of rehearsal to go to the train. I was up in Boston, and I opened it up, and all I see was we are pleased to inform you. Like, there's no way I just got into callback weekend again. Oh my goodness. I just like did a 360, ran past all my castmates. And I was like, hey, how you doing? I was just like going, I was like, is the director still here? And I went to go talk to her about it, and they were very, very kind about it. And we figured something out, and they allowed me to go to callback weekend because we had performances during callback weekend. And this is something I talked to you about. Um, and yeah, I would miss 4 out of the 8 performances. So yeah, I got the notification that I got into callback weekend. Both of my friends from Rhode Island got to callback weekend too, so that was insane. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, and then it was
Yeah.
waiting for callback weekend. Yeah,
Right. So let's dive into it. So you had been to callback weekend the year before.
yeah.
Was it mostly the same? Did they do anything majorly different?
It was kind of like the same structure,
Hmm.
basically, just like
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
yeah, exactly. The classes were like there was like mid of like minor differences in it. Um, I think for me this year, because last year, and I was talking to Cormac about it, for last year's callback weekend, my pieces felt stale once I got there. And that was because I just overdid it. Because I was like, callback weekend, I got it. Like for this year, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be present at rehearsals. I'll think of the circumstances. I'll talk to my dad about the circumstances. I'll talk to my friends about the circumstances. But in terms of overdoing the piece, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna just keep it fresh.
Hmm.
So we go to callback weekend again, the same structure. First day we go there, they talk about the program. We go watch Pericles, phenomenal show. Um, and I'm a very big Shakespeare nerd. So anybody who's watching Shakespeare, just keep this in mind. Just listen to the operative words when they're like in heightened language, and then sometimes they'll say a sentence that sounds very contemporary. So just be with the actors, and they were amazing. They were amazing with the language. We did that, and then the second day, what did we do second day? Second day, we came back and we learned more about the school, financial aid, and whatnot. And then we had a discussion about Pericles. We were split into groups, and we were just talking about it in a group. And then we had one person that stood up and talked about the play and like what the group was discussing. And then uh, was it that same day we did auditions again, actually.
And these
Second day.
one-on-one, like the one, are you the only actor in the room, or are you talking about doing group stuff?
Just one. It was just like an initial audition. It was just you come in, you do your pieces again. And again, I was quite nervous. I walk into 304 and there's so much staff that they're literally in a U. And I'm like overthinking myself. And I'm just like, let me just live moment to moment. Again, I left not feeling super great about it because I just wasn't present from first line to last line. And that's just me being hard on myself. And it doesn't mean anything. I think it's just probably like a refresher for them. I don't know what it is. I don't like to think too much about it. And then the third day is classes. And what my mindset about it was like, okay, so these are the classes I'm gonna get if I get into Juilliard. So let me try to learn from them. Like, let me not try. I'm not gonna care about the people because the staff are in there and they're kind of like writing down notes about applicants. And I'm like, I don't want to worry about them. I'm worrying about myself right now. I just want to like be present, make mistakes. Um, it's more impressive to fall flat on your face and get up than just run the whole time. So it's like if I make a mistake, it's totally fine. Let me just see where I can improve.
And I know what you mean, but again, there's going to be a whole contingent of listeners who are like, "Sweet, let's plan how many mistakes I can make."
Oh yeah, no, no,
No,
no, no,
kidding.
no.
I'm just kidding. I know, and I know everyone listening is smarter than that. But no, it's just hilarious. You're
Yeah,
in that it's way more beneficial to your audition and getting in if you are present in the learning rather
yeah,
than having one foot out and kind of keeping your eye on like what
yeah,
the auditors are doing or thinking. Like that
yeah,
doesn't serve you at all. And also, like you said, I'm just going to take care of myself. This is an amazing opportunity to be in class. And I don't know if it's going to continue. So like, let me just take this great workshop right now.
Yeah. And also be a team player too. Like I want to make sure that for me too, like Juilliard is a great opportunity for anyone. And it's not up to me whether I get in and whatnot. And I want to make sure that this is a very sports-like mentality, but I want to make sure that the staff have an idea of who is best for their program. And it might not be me that year. So I want to make sure that the next person that doesn't feel confident, I can boost their confidence a little bit so they can show their best work. So then this opportunity that arises for them can change their life. You know, it's much bigger than just me. You know, if I'm not prepared for it this year, then I'm not. But I'm going to make sure that everyone around me
Well,
gets
and
that.
what you're, yeah, that's legit. What you're talking about also is, like you said, team player, and that's what art is. It's collaboration.
Yeah.
It's the sum of all of the parts. So if you're doing a group exercise, you want to contribute to the overall
Yeah.
story the group is telling. And
Yeah.
that's kind of having a sense, what's my role in this particular moment? And
Yeah.
I'm not going to be afraid to contribute in that way,
Yeah.
whether it's a small way or a big way. The overall story we're telling is kind of what I'm attuned to.
Yeah, taking my space when I need to take, trust me, I took my space, absolutely. But also knowing when to step back and let this person take their space. It wasn't just all about me because that's not how it is. It's very team sport. Like, but I definitely like made sure that I did my best as well, but also just making sure rather than taking this three-pointer, seeing that open person right there and just passing it to them, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
doing that as well and just being present with it and just being in the moment. And I learned a lot that day. And then the next day we had singing class with Deb, and it was amazing. We also got to watch some film from the prior classes, which was also amazing. Just seeing like the work of students that go to the school was amazing. And yeah, and then they also had workshops for people. Like they would like invite different people, and it'd be like 15 minutes where they would like work more closely with you. I wasn't invited this day, but certain people were. It doesn't mean anything. But if you do get invited, it's a time to get to work with arguably the best people at what they do. And it's just amazing. So if you do get invited, don't overthink it. Just be glad that, you know, you're able to work closely with them. And if you didn't, then know that you did all the work that you needed to do for callback weekend. So we do singing class and again, don't want to get too much into it because for anybody who does get invited, just be present. You know, I don't
Oh
want
yeah, it's different every time. It's not like any one class is going to repeat in the
yeah,
same fashion.
yeah. You
They
don't really
really
want
are kind of playing with you as much as your, they're kind of taking off of your energy as
yeah.
much as, so each class is always different. That goes for actual school too,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you don't want to necessarily prepare for it because it's like if you go to Juilliard, you can't really necessarily prepare for every class you have every day, you know? So even if you do make a mistake in something, it's fine. It's totally fine. Just, pick yourself back up and, work and keep that positive energy. And then that was the end of day callback weekend. It actually ended on March 17th, which was my birthday. And
Okay.
I woke up that morning and I took a shower, I got dressed, and my dad passed by me and was like, "Happy birthday." I'm like, "Oh, wait, it is my birthday." I like completely forgot because I was just so focused on this callback weekend. And I got there and then news kind of spread and I was like trying to keep it low key and then they all sung happy birthday to me and I was like, I'm a shy person, but I felt the love and I appreciated it. And then we left and it was like again, those like I think it was like 4 days, best days of my life.
Wow.
Love those people. Like again, like everybody at callback weekend does not think they're gonna be at callback weekend. Everybody's super open and super nice. And those people like to this day, I like if I see them anywhere, they're like for me considered family. I love them. So that was the end of callback weekend. And then Evan let us know that we are gonna find out the next couple days who gets in, who doesn't. And then it was just waiting.
Always fun, always fun. So how long has it been since even the year before, since you very first started to actually apply to drama schools? How long until you found out you actually got in?
From the initial audition,
Yes.
okay. So I auditioned January 20th. January. I have all my stickers.
I mean from like the moment you decided a year prior,
Mm.
the moment you decided to actually apply, like your preparation for the first year,
Oh,
the auditions for the first year, the preparation for this. What is the time span?
oh man. It was funny because I've always kind of flirted with the idea of auditioning for Juilliard and like people would kind of scoff at it. And it just like kind of pissed me off a little bit. So I was like, let me just do it just to prove them wrong. Like even if it doesn't work out, I'm just gonna try to do it, you know. And I did a lot of research on the program, and I found out that I felt like they had the same vision as me. But I think I started like obviously last year. I think probably like June, I believe. I started preparing, and then my initial
Almost two
audition.
full years.
Yeah. So it was a lot of development in those 2 years. And I definitely developed I'm a very fast learner, I believe. So I developed very quickly. Um, so yeah, June and I auditioned last year, January 14th. And then yeah, up until this point, January 20th, I mean, callback weekend ended March 17th. So it was like a solid year or two, year
Yeah.
and a half, maybe. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So, you told us about when you got invited to callback weekend. How did that compare to when you actually got the official word?
Oh, when I got in. Oh, jeez, that was a crazy moment. So I got a call 3 days later. So I just finished a production because literally right after callback weekend, I had to go straight home because the next morning I had a performance for Midsummer. So I went straight back to work right after callback weekend. And a better artist. I swear to God, I was a better artist. Like it was crazy. I've never felt that present while doing that. So it was March 20th. I just finished a performance, and I kind of knew from last year too. I was like, it might be today. Like people like in the cast at Midsummer was like, when do you find out? I was like, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Um, and I'm kind of like checking my phone, like even between scenes, I just go up and just check my phone just to see if I got a missed call or anything like that. I didn't know, but just in case, I didn't want to think I got in because that's not very realistic. Um, and then after performance, I went to go eat chicken at this bomb chicken spot, and still kind of checking my phone, And I'm eating. I finished eating, and it always happens when you least expect it. So like when I was watching a YouTube video, I just see a New York number pop up. I'm like, there's no freaking way I just got into Juilliard. There's no way. And I let it ring for like three more times just so that I didn't like seem like a creep and picking up first time. So I let it ring and I pick up and I'm like, hello? And then it was Kathy. And she was like, we're gonna connect you to Evan. And if I'm being honest with you, I blacked out. I don't remember anything they said. I don't even remember them saying we want to invite you to Group 57. Like I think the only thing I remember them saying is Evan was like, you're very generous over the weekend, and um, you know, them congratulating me and then me saying like I'm ready to go to work, and I kind of hung up, and it just felt like if this is a dream, this is the most effed up dream ever. Literally. And I kind of like looked around, I'm like, let me call my brother really quick. I called him, he didn't pick up. And then I kind of called my ex-girlfriend. I just FaceTime. I was like, hey, I got into Juilliard. Like we had a quick conversation. And then I called my dad and he picked up and he like, I told him about it. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like,
Are you
what do you mean?
sure?
I'm sure.
Maybe I'm not sure.
How do you know? And I'm like, now I'm thinking like, did I actually just get this call? And I'm like, yeah, they just called me. Like, and he started getting emotional. And then I told my mentors and it just spread like wildfire. And first thing I did was after all that, I called Cormac just to see. Well, I didn't call him, I texted him because it's a very sensitive topic.
Very
So
sensitive
I
topic.
texted him, I was like, hey, have you heard anything? And then he was like, have you? I was like, have you?
Oh goodness.
And then we called and he shared his news. And then I called another one of my friends. He shared his news. And yeah, it was just a weird feeling. Like again, like what you said, nobody thinks they're gonna get into Juilliard. Like I would have never thought that. Like I'm just Eddie from Pawtucket. Like that's weird. Like I started doing theater, as a hobby like 5 years ago. Like started taking it serious like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Don't have much experience. Just people who have more experience than me. But yeah, it was a great opportunity, and like it's crazy. Like again, still don't believe it.
I
Like
know it's fresh. It's like not even like the summertime yet. Have you done anything to like look into where you're gonna live? I mean, are you gonna live on campus? Are you creating your email and all that stuff yet?
yeah, I wanted to make sure that I got everything situated beforehand. I got a really good financial aid offer. Very, very good. So that's great. I think undergraduates, BFA, they have to stay on campus the first year, and it's just to adjust to the setting. And I think that's smart for me because New York is a very it's a very intense city. So like living off a campus, and the thing for me, I hate being late. Even like I'd rather, for me, being on time is being late. So I want to stay in the same spot and kind of understand the city a bit more. So definitely gonna live on campus. Yeah. And yeah, figuring everything out is yeah, it's
Amazing. It's awesome.
yeah.
Can't wait. Well, I definitely wore the merch just for this conversation because it's a very exciting time, as it is for anyone who gets into one of their top drama schools. But I know this was so close for you last year, and you were obviously doing really great work, and it was fun to kind of play with your pieces and see your malleability. You had the ability to sort of just throw yourself into the direction, but not randomly. Just
Yeah.
really pour into the imaginary circumstances with thoughtfulness and that the readiness to discover.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really give you credit for that, and
Thank
clearly
you.
you shared that. Um, Talk to us about what you think. If for everyone listening who's looking towards drama school auditions, just like you were 2 or 3 months ago. What is it that you think that should be a big focus if they finish their drama school auditions and look back at their preparation? What should be the biggest thing that they've invested their time and their money and their energy into?
Um, I think just I think most of it is a mentality game. Like I see a lot of people who think that they just can't, and that's not realistic. You definitely can. And I had the right mentor. Shout out to a mentor of mine. I still talk to him to this day, Anthony Goes. And it was at a time where I was asking him for a letter of recommendation last year. And he was like, "Oh, cool. What school?" And I felt ashamed to say Juilliard. And I was like, "Juilliard." And he was like, "Oh man, they would be lucky to have you." And that like gave me like the kind of confidence. So, listening to the good and ignoring the bad, just like the more you do this and the more prepared you are, like the more technique books you read, and the more interviews and the more you observe life, the easier it gets, I believe. So just again, trusting your instinct, trusting yourself, understanding that you person is very important for this art. We all have different life experiences that, I can't do a part like someone else can't do a part. And no, that person can't do a part like I do a part. It's because we bring our own self to it. So understanding that there's a space for everyone. So just yeah, that trust in yourself.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Bonus question,
Yeah.
because you said you're a Shakespeare nerd.
Yeah.
I have to ask, like how much Shakespeare experience did you have? And like, what is it why are you so passionate about this? Because clearly, to get into Juilliard and definitely other top drama schools, they ask you for Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And, I know they say classical in the audition requirements, but we know everybody who gets in is going to be asked to do Shakespeare. So
Um,
we always recommend prepare Shakespeare. What is it that you're so passionate about Shakespeare, or was there some sort of class you took that really turned you on to the literature? Or
Man, we can talk about this all day.
I
Like,
want at least a good chunk here.
yeah, at first, I think with anyone who starts theater, I thought Shakespeare was very corny and weird and very poetic and formal. And I ended up because I took a class in my high school, and we just did like little like theater pieces, like little scenes and stuff. And then I did a summer intensive at the GAM. It was called GSI. Highly recommend for anybody in Rhode Island if you're in high school and middle school. Um and we did two Shakespeare shows in 4 weeks. So this is kind of like my first kind of experience doing theater for any audience. And uh first week you get your role, whatever. You audition, you get your role. I auditioned for a smaller part. I got Lysander, but you you audition, and then first week off book, second week off book, no call for line, and then third week tech, and then performance fourth week. So with that, you kind of understand the language a bit better and understand that for me, um, again, Shakespeare, he has different levels of saying how he feels. Like for Hamlet, instead of him being like, I'm depressed, it's like that's very vague, you know? He says, look at this beautiful scenery, look at the sun, like look at the sun in the sky, look at environment, you know, look how beautiful it is. I see nothing. That's how he says that he's depressed. So it shows you like where the characters, he kind of is able to put these feelings and emotions in words, and it's beautiful. Like I don't know how to explain it. And like paying attention to the language, like why he says this word rather than this word. Like instead of saying, you know, skin, he says flesh. Because if you get a skin wound, you know, it hurts, but it's manageable. If you get a flesh wound, you're going to the hospital. So understanding that, you know, and he gives you everything in the language, literally everything.
Yeah,
So
I mean, even in your piece, the Much Ado piece, right? He says, uh, if I were to fall in love, I would be like an oyster.
yeah,
What is an oy? Why is being an oyster? You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
you get as an actor, that's a great opportunity to go. Why does
exactly.
my character need the image of oyster
Yeah. And
to? Yeah,
you work your creativity with that as well.
yeah.
Like, what does oyster actually mean to me? You know, it can mean so many different things because there's not really one way to do anything in Shakespeare. So finding this passage and even like the pieces that I'd done, I felt like they were very overdone pieces, but like bringing myself to it and
Oh yeah. Oh, the Mark Antony's the most overdone.
finding different moments in that that are truthful to me, you know? So I think that's very important. It's just like I think the more you do it and just like try reading different Shakespeare plays, try being in Shakespeare plays. I think being in it is the only way you can really enjoy it as much. And then, try to watch it as well. And you realize that he's a genius.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love hearing the perspective of someone who, hasn't gone through, let's say, formal drama school training, because
Not at all.
sometimes that's when you're kind of forced to deal with Shakespeare.
Yeah,
And that's when, things open up where you're like, oh man, it wasn't until it was shoved in my face that I realized how open it could be and how limitless it is.
yeah,
But you kind of stumbled across that with those experiences. And I also hear, for everyone listening, you should take note from Eddy's hunger. Like you can tell, even since you were a younger, you have this hunger you took advantage of that opportunity to do the summer workshop. You took advantage of the opportunity. You're always taking advantage of opportunities to grow and say, this can help me. This
yeah,
can help me, this can help me. And I think that has really kind of accelerated your progress. So I think you're arriving at Juilliard at just the perfect time.
yeah, I think so too.
Uh, you're gonna have a blast, man. I can't wait.
Oh man, I can't wait too, man. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be absolutely insane.
Thank you for sharing today.
Thank you. This was great talking about it, I love
Awesome.
talking about this whole thing.
Yeah, we will talk more, obviously, when you come up here. And yeah, so I look forward to it. And if you have anything else to share, obviously, you can use our platform. I know any one of our students who is auditioning would benefit. So never
Absolutely.
hesitate.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. Yeah.
All right, my friend. We will talk
All right.
soon.
Thank you.